You were advisor from 2001 to 2003.
That's correct.
Then 2003 became deputy minister.
That's correct.
How many deputies were you at the ministry?
At that time, we were 2. Later on, we became 3.
Okay, so you served until 2004.
As deputy minister.
Then you went to contest elections and then came back
2004.
and became an MP in 2005.
Yes.
Did you get re-nominated as deputy finance minister?
Yes, up to 2007.
So you served all the way.
I became Minister of State in 2007.
What's the difference? Was that, Kufuor is a guy who introduced this Minister of State thing, no?
If you look at the Constitution, it doesn't say cabinet minister. Well, there's a place for cabinet, but it says the president appoints ministers of state and deputy ministers. Mm-hmm. Now, a minister of state, if you're not a cabinet member, is below the cabinet member. So I was a minister of state, which is above the deputy, which means that maybe except for the person being in cabinet, your conditions of service are not too much different.
But you don't have a ministry to yourself. You don't run a ministry.
In the same ministry, yes. You don't have a ministry to yourself.
So you are deputy to the minister.
You are not deputy. You are a minister of state.
Yeah, but you don't have the same locus. So let's look at it.
No, you don't have the locus as a cabinet minister. Mm-hmm. But every time you represent the minister, you are acting in.
Right now, you are a minister.
Cabinet minister.
You are not a minister of state, you are a minister.
Yes.
Good. A minister with a portfolio, right?
Yes.
Let's look at Ministry of Education.
Yes.
There's Matthew Poku Prempeh, he's Minister for Education.
Yes.
There's Professor Yanka.
Yes.
Minister of State.
For tertiary education.
Who is senior?
Oh, the cabinet minister obviously is senior.
So then Yanka becomes like in between deputy and minister. That's where he becomes.
That's what I say. But he's not in between. Okay. He's in between the cabinet minister, and he's the next in line. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So if you went to education, the next person in line should be
the Minister of State.
Yanka.
So when you were there, so you were also at the Ministry of Finance, Minister of State.
I spent all my time at the Ministry of Finance at that time. The last position was acting Minister of Finance when Kojo died.
Oh, so you acted after Kojo's death?
From September 2008 to December.
So you served as deputy under him?
I served deputy under Kojo, Minister of State under Kojo. And then when he died, I assumed acting. I was not the substance.
You were not confirmed. You didn't go to Parliament for vetting and all of that. No. So when you were Minister of State, there was no conflict with you and Kojo Banredo?
At all.
Do you not foresee possible conflict between?
It depends on your personalities. Truth be told, both Yao and Kojo allowed me a lot of freedom. Technically, because I was an economist, and both of them are non-economists, literally they allowed me to run the ministry, but I checked with them. So I must confess, both of them were very good bosses. Sometimes people used to think that I ran the ministry, but they allowed me space. So I led most of the technical discussions and so forth.
In 2016, when Akufo-Addo won, indeed, when you were in opposition, you were one of the strongest voices for the NPP on the economy.
But there was a reason. Officially, I was the spokesperson for the NPP on economic and finance. And I was the ranking member in Parliament for finance.
So when you won in 2016, everybody saw it as a logical thing that Akoto Osei was going to be the Minister of Finance.
I didn't think that.
You didn't expect it?
No, the President and I had conversations. And by the way, the President's late wife is my cousin.
I told you power is in your house.
So I've known him, and he has known the family for a long time.
Okay.
But he had always joked that me and my brother, Ambassador DK, we were running the government, but he was at the presidency and I was at finance. They were very powerful. So when he came in, he would replicate that. He had been joking, but I'm not surprised. The president was clear in his mind who he was going to appoint where. You
were not looking for it to be minister?
No.
Not deputy?
No, I couldn't have been deputy.
You have grown above that?
Having been a minister of state.
You couldn't have been made deputy?
No, he wouldn't have.
What if he gave you the same portfolio Kufuor gave you? So he made you minister of state at the Ministry of Finance to be assisting Ken?
I had been minister of state.
So this is the best you could have done in this administration, you think? Or there are better portfolios you could have managed?
It depends on what you call best. My attitude is, if you want me to contribute, give me a position, I'll do what is necessary to do it. I mean, don't forget, the other thing he did was he also made me a member of the economic management team. which is a few of us. But more importantly, it made my position a cabinet position. So,
But when you were campaigning in 2016, and when Charlotte Osei declared that Nana Akufo-Addo had won the president, and in your head, you knew that you would be in this government, did you expect to be Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation?
I didn't know, because I didn't even go and see the president till Christmas time. I know people were going to lobby for position. I'm not that type. I didn't go. It was only, I think, a day before Christmas. It was the Christmas day after church. I went to say hello to him and said, this is the position I'm offering you. So I said, is it a cabinet position? And he said, yes. I said, no problem.
If he wasn't, you wouldn't have taken it?
Oh, no, because I understood the nature of what he was trying to make me do. I was not to be called a supervisor of colleagues, but I was to help him assess colleagues. So some of my colleagues joke and say I'm the Inspector General.
Class prefect.
But it's not that way.
How did you understand your role? How different is your role from the senior minister's role?
The senior minister is always a senior minister. The president assigns him specific duties as a senior minister. My role, which has been, is to, as it were, help him assess ministers in the work they are supposed to do. And when things are not going well, between us, find the best way to put it on target. I mean, we came up with a matrix of results for every minister, and my job was to report on it. So once you had agreed to this, these indicators and so forth and so on, I report to cabinet, and the first report, I remember I color coded it, red, gold, and green. And some of them, initial stages, most of them were in the red area because they were still.
So red means non-performing or underperforming?
Red means you are not achieving your targets.
Okay.
There may be several reasons.
Okay.
One of them we found that was financial. If you are not getting the money, you cannot deliver.
So you ranked the ministers and told him that this is 1, 2, 3, 4.
On the basis of the targets we have set. Target number 1, you are here, you are not there, and so forth and so on.
Did you sit with the president in an office where the ministers will come in one after the other? Next, come in, they assess you and tell you what?
On the contrary, he sat in his office and assessed all of us.
Okay, so you went to give him a report?
I went to give cabinet, not just him.
Oh,
we didn't have one-on-one. I prepared my reports to be read at cabinet, and then the question and answer will go on. So every minister will say, oh yes, this is the situation. I didn't get the money on time. Then the finance minister will have to explain what is going on and so forth and so on. Just so that we are on track. So that we all follow the targets that this minister, you said you do A, B, and C. So far.
How far?
How far. And sometimes the problem is not that the minister doesn't know what to do. There are bureaucratic constraints.
So you were choking ministers?
No, I was not choking ministers. I was facilitating their work. For example, let me give you a good example. You know about GIFMIS. It's the financial system that we used to. One of the jokes the ministers used to say is that we don't know whether GIFMIS is a man or a woman. But the first 3 months, every minister came and said, because of GIFMIS,
there's a problem.
There's a problem. So
it's bureaucratic.
I suggested to the president every minister should be asked to go for an orientation with GIFMIS. After that, he became because the ministers have responsibility in also working with GIFMIS. If you don't know, the file may be there for months and you haven't assessed it, then it's your fault.
And you'll be breaking the law.
Even the bookkeeper, you must know who is the bookkeeper so that if he hasn't done their work. So those things.
Were there ministers who were coming to lobby you and say, if you go, please give me an A instead of a B?
No, never. I mean, we worked with them.
Were they afraid of you?
No. I mean, on the contrary, I think part of the reason the president put me in that position, at finance, I had the opportunity to work with every ministry. So, generally speaking, I knew some of the basic things about how the ministries work. And so it was easy for me. And don't forget that I was the only minister that had been in finance for 8 years. So finance is a crucial part of how systems work. So it was easy for me to facilitate their work. But the way we set it up, my staff and every minister, we appointed people that will report to the minister directly on the targets that the metrics that we have set, so that you cannot say I'm coming on your blind side. So
but who evaluates you?
The president. He did an evaluation of all of us by calling us in and say, "Hey, you."
Yeah, but you are just supposed to evaluate. So
I'm evaluating the work of the ministers in terms of the agreed upon.
So what is the yardstick for evaluating you, your own performance?
That's up to him. He called each one of us into his office.
There are people who think that your ministry is actually a redundant one and that the president has direct eye on every ministry. He has a chief of staff.
The president
he has a senior minister. There's a vice president. All these people can supervise ministries.
No, the president does not.
Let him know that this is not happening. Why do you have to put someone else in charge? To
the president does not have a director at all ministries. The president needs to be assisted. That on the basis of the agreed targets with the ministries, who is doing what?
But chief of staff is there. Senior minister is there.
Chief of staff has other things.
In fact, Kojo Mpieni, you worked under Kojo Mpieni. He did a great job monitoring all the ministers.
Kojo Mpieni was not doing the same money. Don't forget, even in Kojo Mpieni's time, there was an office of monitoring and evaluation.
There was?
Yes.
Okay. In
Kojo's time, Kufuor's time, even in Mills' time, Tornado was.
Yes.
The only difference was that mine was a cabinet position. So you are at the table and you are able to talk to your colleagues one-on-one. You are not lying on them if they disagree with your...
Critics of the government say ministries like yours is what bloated the ministry list. So Akufo-Addo has an elephant-sized
I tend to look at it differently. I also believe that it's ministries like mine which kept ministers on top of their work.
This is Face to Face on Citi TV. My guest is the Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation. He's MP for Old Trafford, Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei.